What is going on, everyone? Big time football talk. Brandt Parshall here. So I want to get into some of the over and under win totals for the NFL this year. We got some notable teams that I'd like to discuss, and the first one being the Baltimore Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens win total comes in at 11.5. In this case, we're going to take the over here. I really love what Baltimore did in the draft. We've discussed this a little bit on the channel. They brought in Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, and they added Derek Wolfe in the offseason also. And then drafting J.K. Dobbins was one of the best moves they made in the draft. That was one of the biggest steals in the second round. So this is a team that with a fantastic defense, veteran leaders, even though they're aging a little bit, and Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So look for this to be one of the best rushing attacks to go along with a outstanding defense. So look for that combination to be just lethal and even more deadly this year, go along with a great coach and John Harbaugh, who's proven that he can adapt and change his offense to meet the requirements of Lamar Jackson. Look for the Baltimore Ravens to go over here, even with a tougher schedule that includes playing New England and Tennessee and Kansas City, but obviously I think New England and Tennessee won't be as tough this year. So look for the Baltimore Ravens to go over here. I think they'll win. I think this will be a 13-3 team, so I would take the over in this case for the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're now led by former New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers over and under comes in at 9.5. I think on this case I'm going to take slightly under. I like Tampa Bay's young talent, like I discussed. Devin White, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Vita Vea. They have great pieces on their young defense. On offense, the offensive line could be a struggle for Tampa Bay this year. They have Ali Marpet, who's a really good guard, and they have a center who's pretty good, but the tackle position's a struggle. If you can't keep Tom Brady upright, that's just gonna not be a good time getting the ball to Godwin and Mike Evans and Gronk. It doesn't matter what weapons you have if you don't have the time to throw. But I think Tampa Bay is a team that will start out struggling early and will improve as the season goes on. Usually you see that with teams that are kind of mixing up their roster but still have a great coach. Usually teams with great coaches improve as the season goes on, and I believe Bruce Arians is a great coach, so I look for Tampa Bay to struggle early in an improved division but make it into that wild card spot in the NFC. So I think I'm going to go slightly under on Tampa Bay, but look for a solid football team for the Buccaneers this year. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were another team that had a fantastic draft, getting CeeDee Lamb and adding some other good pieces on defense, such as Trevon Diggs and Neville Gallimore from the University of Oklahoma. Look for the Cowboys to be a competitive team, but in this case, the over and under at 9.5. I'm going to take slightly under here. I think that they won't be able to run the ball like they have before. I think losing Travis Frederick on the offensive line really hurts the Cowboys. So I'm going to take the under in this case, but look for the Cowboys to be a pretty solid football team. But I think that losing Frederick hurts, and I don't think they're able to run the ball as effectively. And I think that'll put their defense in some tougher spots. And I don't know. I'm not a full believer in Mike McCarthy, but I think he's a solid coach. But I don't think this is the year that the Cowboys put it together and get over that, get 10 or more wins and get a one seed. I think they're a 8-9 win team that's battling for a wild card spot, just because I'm not a believer in the coaching. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions, who come in at 6.5 on the over and under. And I'm actually going to take the under, even though I really love what the Lions did in the draft. I love Swift, I love Okuda. I think those guys are going to make their team a whole heck of a lot better, but this is a team. This prediction right here is slowly based on me not being a believer in Bob Quinn as a GM and not being a believer in Matt Patricia as a coach. So I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to say that the Lions win 5 or 6 wins, which doesn't. For Lions fans out there, that's kind of harsh. But they were a 3-win team last year, and it looked like they looked even worse than a 3-win team at times. So I think 5 or 6 wins would be a pretty solid improvement for a team that, couldn't cover anyone towards the end of the season last year. So I'll take the under in this case at 6.5. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more clips like this from Big Time Football Talk. Until next time.